Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
and I vote aye. Ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Item number 2 on the agenda is our comments from the public. This is time to set aside by the Board of Commissioners to allow individuals to address the board on issues concerning the county. As you know, since we've been in COVID-19, there's a procedure that we follow that those requests must come in by noon on today. And we will recognize those who have indeed requested to make public comments, and Coy will let them in as we call their names. The first is Curtis Wall. Mr. Wall.
Don't see Curtis Wall yet.
Don't see Curtis Wall yet, okay. This next one is Lynn Whiffle. Mr. Whiffle.
I do not see that name either.
All right. How about Frank Winstead?
Okay.
All right. Mr. Winstead, if you would give us your name and your address for the benefit of the clerk, we would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. This is Frank Winstead, 145 Victoria Court, Youngsville, North Carolina, 27596-7739-45. Good evening to you all. Science seems to be guiding government decisions these days. This is not new. In the 1930s, the science of eugenics was adopted as public policy in much of Europe and North Carolina. Then in 1945, there was a sudden change in European political leadership, and the science of eugenics was discredited throughout Europe and in much of the rest of the world. However, here, this state did not abolish the North Carolina Eugenics Board until the mid-1970s. It ended here in North Carolina around the same time as the party that controlled the governor's office changed. Of course, the state of North Carolina could not sterilize people without the cooperation of the local government in the name of science, of course. Some areas even had their own local sterilization clinics separate from the state's program. Currently, as best I can tell, there are no government-financed eugenics programs in North Carolina, nor here in Franklin County. But we do have a county health department. Last week, I tried to find out from the Franklin County Health Department what exactly is the penalty a business faces if they don't make customers wear a face covering. The governor's order makes no mention of the penalty for a business that refuses to act as the governor's unpaid deputy, not to mention the costs and liabilities to a business taking a customer to court on trespassing charges. The Franklin County Health Department responded to my email by suggesting I ask the sheriff's office. It took some effort, but I did get a very surprising answer from the sheriff's Facebook account. And while I was looking at the sheriff's public postings, I noticed a July 2nd photograph with 279 likes. Take a look for yourselves at the sheriff's Facebook page. I think that photograph clearly shows county law enforcement's view on face coverings and social distancing. Since I saw that, I have read that a business owner in Lincolnton, North Carolina, has actually been charged with not enforcing the governor's order. The NC Court System's online calendar shows the business owner is facing an offense code of 5099. According to the UNC School of Government website, only 4% of people charged with a 5099 offense in North Carolina are actually convicted. So those are the risk factors a business can use to determine whether to enforce or not enforce. As Commissioner Jones pointed out at y'all's June 15th meeting, face coverings cost money, and poor people are really the ones most affected by this expense. I think we all hope that the Franklin County Health Department does not become a historical reenactment of the Eugenics Board. Good night, y'all. Bye-bye.
Is Mr. Wall on yet? Curtis Wall?
No, sir.
How about Lynn Whiffle?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Carl Wakomski?
Carl.
Mr. Chairman, that one was received after the deadline today.
Very good, okay. All right. All right, and that will conclude our public comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
point, just for reference to time, when we started the session, we were a little early. And when we called out this first couple, it was like 6:58, 6:57. So I think maybe it would be considerate of us to check the first couple that we had called to see if maybe they stepped on the line.
okay, that's what we just went back and called them.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
I didn't recognize the name, so I apologize.
Yes, sir, no problem. Okay, is anybody else on the line? Any of those people on the line?
No, sir. I still don't see any of them.
Okay, very good. All right, item number 3 on the agenda is closed session. The board is asked to conduct a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, General 143-318.11A, 3, attorney-client privilege communications. What's the pleasure?
So moved.
Mr. Speed has made a motion. Can we get a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Shriver. Any discussion? No discussion. We'll call the roll. All in favor? Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Foy? Mr. Foy? Mr. Foy?
No.
Mr. Bunn?
Yes.
Mr. Speed?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Shriver?
Yes.
Yes. The yeses have it, and it is so ordered. We will meet you in closed session. let's, after we've gone back into, is everybody here?
Everybody but Commissioner Jones. I don't see him.
Okay. Well, I think we'll entertain a motion to, when he comes, to go back into open session. And then, okay. But before we do that, then we will, I'm going to ask for another motion to receive the Harris report 1 immediately before we go to item 4, okay?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to take the so moved as a motion to go back into open session. And
Yes.
I'm going to take Michael, yours as a second.
Sir.
Any questions? If there are no questions, we're going to do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Dickerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Foy,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver.
Yes.
All right, it's so moved and is so ordered. So we're back in open session now. The first item on our agenda, we entertain a motion to hear a report from Harris Communications. Can we get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Shriver, who second?
I did.
Mr. Speed, second. Okay, any questions? No questions. We'll do a roll call vote. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Foy,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
and it is so ordered. All right. Our representative, Christie, our representatives here from Harris.
They should be back on the line on the cell phone. It's a 978 number. Cool.
All right.
Great. So this is Mike Axford. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mike.
Okay. Yeah.
Mike Axel.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Did everybody else hear?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry for the last minute change in phone number here. Thanks for allowing us to come back and present where we are with mitigation efforts on the county's radio system. For those in the public domain, we just briefed the Board of Commissioners on work that had been completed. This, of course, is based on the letter that was sent out back in February the 17th, where 7 items had been defined as requiring to be corrected. What we found when we started looking into this was that the majority of these things were actually related to configuration changes that were required on the microwave backbone to try and address changes that had been implemented as part of the phase 2 upgrade. And those changes actually did resolve other things related to paging, and there was some reports of degraded performance on the phase 1 system post the phase 2 upgrade. And all of those things were addressed by the changes to what we call grade of service. In other words, how the microwave passes different types of traffic over it. Subsequent to that, there was an issue related to radio descent in close proximity. So the portable radios were getting affected when they were very close to a mobile radio that was transmitting. Our initial investigation into that suggested that there was a problem with the mobile creating some spurious radiation in close proximity, and changes were made to address that through a hardware modification. Actually, that was implemented, but during field trials, we found that that didn't fully mitigate the problem. Subsequent to that, we had determined that there was an improvement that could be made to the way that the portable radios were handling very strong signals, and that manifested itself as a software change to the radio. As part of the mitigation work that's been conducted really since the February the 17th letter, the 6 of the 7 items on that list were addressed through the microwave change primarily. And the final item, which was the descent issue, was just recently finished towards the end of May, 29th of May, actually. And this addressed the localized descents of portables. As part of that effort, almost 300 mobiles received a hardware modification and 400 portables received the software change. As part of that work, we also did some testing on the performance of the radios, and any that were found to be below standard were either retuned, updated, or they were returned to Harris to be repaired. As part of this activity, we had also found that there were several installation-related concerns, really as findings during the work that was conducted. And those details have been passed to the county and the consultant. Based on some of the input that was provided, the county's consultant has also been looking into interference occurrences on the system and has identified two primary concerns there. One related to licensed users several counties away that periodically, when the weather conditions are correct, can cause interference on your system. But also they have identified some potentially malicious interference that's being conducted in very close proximity to users. That information has been passed to the Federal Communications Commission enforcement group and is being researched by them in order to try and find the culprits and put a stop to that interference effort. As far as the items that have been presented to us in the letter of February the 17th, at this point, we have completed all the remedial work. The consultant and the county have vetted the work that was done and have confirmed that the issues that were addressed have actually been mitigated. At this point, we believe that we are complete in terms of that required work. And really the next stage is to take a look at some of the maintenance items that were identified. And I know that Williams Communications and RCC are working with the county and the consultant to discuss the next steps regarding that. Commissioners, that's really where we are at this point. Are there any questions?
All right, any questions? If there are no questions, then we will entertain a motion to receive this report from Harris. And we will come back on at our August meeting with a conclusion as to what the commissioners want to do.
So moved to receive the report.
Mr. Schreiber moved, Mrs. Speed second. Any questions? No questions. We'll do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Dickerson?
Yes.
Mr. Foy? Mr. Foy?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Speed?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Schreiber?
Yes.
Yes, it's having, and it is so ordered.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make another motion. I would like to make a motion that in all due fairness to everyone involved with this, that we allow all end users to come to our August meeting and give their input and their experience with the system since June the 8th. Second that.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Speed, second by Mr. Foy, I believe,
Yes.
that we would invite all of the end users to the August meeting to give their experiences since June 8th as to what they have experienced on the radios, and to have Mr. Axwood to be back with us again then. Could that be a part of your motion? Mr. Speed, can that be a part of your?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, you want to have this report at the first meeting in August or the second meeting?
The first meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
would it be fair to say we ask for representatives from each group to come, all 800 users to come, or just the representatives from the groups to come?
I would like to see 2 or 3, and I don't care if they're having good experience or bad experience. I think it's important that we hear a little bit from all aspects. Certainly not all 800. We can't handle that. due to time, but
Representatives from each group, firemen and rescue, and all those groups come would be good.
most definitely.
Any other questions and other comments? All right. All in favor? Roll call, Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Mr. Foy,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver.
Yes.
Yes, it's have it, and it is so ordered. All right, we will now move to item 5.
New cases. I'm at a loss at this point. Across the state today, we saw 1,546 new cases. Each day since June 24th, the state has been above 1,000 new lab confirmed cases. We've had our highest new daily total recorded last week on July 3rd, 2,099 cases in one day. We're running about a 9% positive percentage rate for the number of tests that are done that turned out to be positive. That was previously in the 5 to 8% level. Now it's 8 to 10. It reached a new high of 11% on July 2nd. There are 982 people hospitalized as of today. That is an all-time high, and that's with 81% of the hospitals reporting. In Franklin County, I've been giving you kind of the 2 week since your last meeting, but since this is going to be 3 weeks since the last meeting, I can tell you that on last Monday, we had 107 more cases than the previous 2 weeks prior. As of today, I have now recorded 77 more cases in 1 week. We are tracking now to eclipse 107 and are probably looking at about 150 cases. We are seeing dramatic increases each day, and the spider webbing of those contact investigations is definitely taxing our staff. Our anticipated surge, as we break it down a little bit further in cases related to moving into phase 2, has been fully realized. North Carolina has reached a single high total, which I already told you, and we're at our all-time high for hospitalizations today. At present, Governor Cooper issued his executive order 147 on June 26th at 5 p.m. And basically phase 3 was supposed to go into effect on the 29th if the numbers were favorable. That obviously did not happen. I will send you a link. You've probably seen it, but if you haven't, I will send you a link with this report to the executive order. It does obviously include a mandatory face covering requirement. I can tell you that initially, when I first went out, shortly after this went into effect, the difference was dramatic beyond belief. I saw maybe one person at Walmart and 2 people at Walmart and no one at Food Lion that was without a mask. I can tell you that having gone out there today, we are seeing a lack of compliance starting to reassert itself. In terms of contact tracing workforce, with the number of investigations that we're having to do, if you take that 77 cases that I just got in the last week and multiply that by about 5, you get an idea as to how much work we have to do in contact tracing just in this week. And that doesn't include 107 from the 2 weeks prior. So we are getting quickly overwhelmed. We have asked for an additional case investigator from the state. We're still waiting to hear. At last I checked, our case investigator was finishing up training and should be able to be deployed soon. I've sent a follow-up email tonight. We continue to focus on congregate care facilities in our outreach program. And that continues to move along. Unfortunately, I have to report that an outbreak, which is defined as 2 or more cases at a congregate care facility, we have recently, as a result of the facilities regular testing of their staff, we have one new documented outbreak at in Franklin County. It is at Franklin Oaks Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. They have had 3 employees who have tested positive. This is paradoxically, it is a good development because it shows that they're actively testing their employees to make sure that they protect their residents. And so their testing was after the initial testing that we had requested that they follow through with. They did that prior to our program going into effect and have implemented a program where they were testing their employees regularly. They have just begun testing all of their patients today, so we won't know the full extent of the outbreak. We're hopeful that we can keep this one better contained. And there will be more information obviously coming as we get more test results from that. In terms of clusters, clusters are defined as 5 or more cases at a business or an organization. At present, we have 1 business, at least 1 church that had resumed in-person, no mask, no social distancing services that have or have had cluster status in Franklin County. We also have 1 migrant farm camp with a positive worker, and we have tested other workers and farmers involved and are awaiting those results. We have cases that are currently moving through our contact tracing process, and we anticipate additional businesses and organization clusters are likely in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Unfortunately, daycares are going to be included in some of that reporting. Updates on the virus spread. We continue to monitor all of the metrics at the state and local level. And I guess I'm going to skip ahead here in the interest of time. The face covering ordinance, obviously, because the state implemented their face covering mandatory statewide in Executive Order 147, we didn't feel the need to move forward with our own since the state's version seemed to be adequate. In terms of our drive-through testing, we've seen a huge increase in the utilization of that. We currently have 31 scheduled for tomorrow. We are getting requests from another provider in Franklin County who's asking that we please increase our drive-through testing capacity because they're not able to meet the demands of the testing that they're being asked to do, in addition to meeting the needs of their regular patients. So we're going to expand. We're in the process of figuring out what day and timing that will be. But we definitely could fill that up very quickly another day. Last item I have relates to gyms and health clubs. Based on an interpretation of a letter from North Carolina State Attorney General that was dated June 5th, several gyms across the state and at least 1 in Franklin County resumed operations. Ostensibly, those were only for those customers whose exercise was ordered or prescribed by a physician or healthcare provider. While the Attorney General's letter was meant to allow physical therapy providers to continue to provide service to their patients, based on the health club industry's extremely liberal interpretation, virtually every person in the state would likely be able to resume attendance. You know, I use the example, if I went in and looked at my electronic medical record, I guarantee you at some point my doctor said I probably need to exercise more. That's sufficient for them to use the gym. I visited the 1 facility that I knew was continuing to operate. This was prior to the mandated face covering ordinance. I went in, no one was wearing a face covering, no one was practicing social distancing, and that includes the staff and the people using the facility. I've sent letters to the State Attorney General. I've also sent it to the chair of the local Health Directors Association. They've used excerpts from my email to forward on their own concerns and to put that together with other counties that have also experienced concern around this. We're waiting some kind of response, but to date, I haven't heard anything back. So that's kind of where we're at right now. This is very, very depressing time. I can tell you that we are gearing up based on what we saw over the July 4th weekend for a very, very bad 2 weeks from now. That's about the incubation period. So all the people that were not social distancing, that were not wearing face coverings, and that were in large groups gathered together to celebrate their freedom, unfortunately, are going to get more than they bargained for. And in about 2 weeks' time, that's going to come home to roost. I am very, very appreciative of the people in Franklin County that wear the face coverings and practice social distancing. They are doing a fantastic job. But there are a larger group of people, not larger than the ones that are practicing it, but sufficient to drive our local numbers up. We're looking at rates that I never thought I'd be seeing. We've got 184 more cases than I last talked to you. So that's significant for us. And if you use the Center for Disease Control's estimates, they estimate that 10 to 24 times more people have the virus than get tested positive for it. So if you take our 184 and multiply it by 10, that's the minimum. You're talking almost 2,000 cases out there. So this is very, very concerning stuff. So that's where we're at right now. Are there any questions?
I had one.
Yes, sir.
I've seen the state numbers on age groups for infections. What about Franklin County rates for the 18 to 49-year-olds? Is it higher than state average, or about the same?
I have not looked at the age categories broken down by counties to date. I can certainly look into that. I know the state's been doing it. I know the average for the state has dropped precipitously. I suspect that ours might get artificially inflated with some of the nursing homes numbers that might come out. But I can tell you that we have seen, and this is anecdotal, but we have seen cases in the last 2 weeks where we have tested, we've had positive 4-month-olds, 1-year-olds, and 18-month-old. So, you know, the age category is definitely being dragged down, and we are going to look at it because I think there's going to be some targeted messaging we're going to need to do based on who is testing positive. The number one driver that we're seeing in terms of the contact investigations is what I just described. Gatherings of people, one person felt sick, but went anyway, exposed a bunch of people at a party, and then we have to go back and contact all of them. We have people that aren't answering their phones when they see we're calling. We have people that are saying they're literally not giving us the names of people that were at the party. And so our jobs are somewhat hamstrung when it comes to that. But yeah, we are going to look at that because our messaging needs to be tweaked for the population.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you so much, Mr. Levine. Great job.
Thank you, sir.
All right, item number 6 is Fleming Forest Assessment Road. Scott Hammerbacher.
Yes, sir. Doesn't appear my video is enabling me to do this. But we have conducted a public hearing regarding Fleming Forest subdivision. Within that, please, Kristen, let me know if you received any additional comments. But today, I don't believe we have received any additional comments. What we're looking for is the approval of the final assessment resolution that will allow the tax department to begin. Thank you, Coy. That will allow our tax office to be able to send invoices. All road work has been completed. The total tally for improvements at Fleming Forest came in at $229,215. Each homeowner is going to be assessed for approximately $2,871. They do have the option to pay that within the first 60 days of receiving commissioner action. If not, the terms of the approval will be over a 8-year period at 3% interest. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
And Scott, I did not receive any additional comments.
Okay, thank you, Kristen.
No other questions?
Move to approve.
Right, Mr. Schreiber moved to approve. Mr. Jones second. Any questions? No questions. We'll have a roll call vote. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Foy,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Schreiber,
Yes.
and a yes is have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you, Mr. Hammerbacher.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes, sir. Item number 7 on the agenda is library grant. Hope Carnegie. Hope Carnegie. Hope Carnegie.
believe we've lost him.
Oh, it was here earlier. Let's see if,
Can anybody reach out and touch Holt? All right.
Boy, can you tell us if Holt is still available?
No, he's not on the call right now.
Okay, I will try to reach out to him.
Okay, we'll
And
move.
Wayne, I see that Wayne Hunt is on the call. Wayne, if you'll also try to reach out to him as well.
Okay, we'll move to item 8 then, and we'll come back if you're able to reach him. Public Utilities COVID-19 payment arrangement policy. Chris Doherty. Christopher Doherty.
Yes, good evening. What you have before you is a policy for the payment plan arrangement that is in conjunction with Governor Cooper's Executive Order 124 and 142, which extended Executive Order 124. It's putting everything in place that the department will do once the executive order expires. At this time, it's scheduled for July 29th. We will offer payment plans to customers who have an outstanding balance for up to 6 months, no more. It's going to lay out all of the payment plan conditions, what the monthly rate would be. The rate will need to be paid along with their current bill. And this is for anything that was carried a balance beginning March 30th, 2020, when Governor Cooper first signed Executive Order 124. Now, if the payment plan is not paid during one of those 6 months, a customer will end up being disconnected and they will have to pay the account in full to be able to reconnect services. And as this COVID-19 pandemic is very fluid, the dates of this payment plan may change depending on another executive order extension or if it is rescinded. So those dates will move depending on what happens at the legislature. So we're asking for approval of this payment plan by the commission. I stand by to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Are there any questions? No questions? What's the?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Driver, move to approve, Madam Vice Chair, second, I believe. Is that correct?
correct.
All right, any other questions? No questions, we'll have a roll call vote. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Foy,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver.
Yes.
Yes, it has it, and it is so ordered. Thank you so much, Mr. Doherty.
Yes, thank you very much.
Item 9 on the agenda is appointments, the NCACC voting delegate. The board is asked to designate a voting delegate to represent the county at the 113th Annual Conference of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, to be held by virtual platform in August of 2020. The business session is scheduled for August 6, 2020. For more detail on the conference, visit the stated website. No commissioners have registered for the conference as of yet. Is there anyone who wants to volunteer as a delegate? If there is no one who wants to volunteer as a delegate, I will volunteer. I will register for the conference and represent you at the 113th Annual Conference of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. I just received a message that Mr. Carnegie has lost internet services. So we are, okay.
Mr. Chairman, while they're preparing, if you will, make sure to take a vote on the appointment for the conference, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint you as our delegate to the this year's conference.
All right, Shriver, can I get a second? Who seconded?
It's so loud.
Second.
Mr. Jones, second. All right, any other questions? Then we'll have a voice vote. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver.
Yes.
Yes, we have it, and it is so ordered. All right, is Mr. Carnegie on?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
I do.
Oh, good. Good. The computers I'm in front of right now have no camera, but we do have our presentation up. Coy, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so Vice Chairman, Chairman, and Chairman and gentlemen, good evening. I'm Holt Carnegie, and I'm here to basically give you some information about a grant application that I've put together and filed with the Library Services and Technology Act this spring. And it was in response to a need identified in our plan that we developed in 2018 for 2019 through 2029, addressing expanding access to library services throughout the county by the inclusion of a bookmobile. And now we have excellent outreach services provided by Ms. Vicki Williams, but those are curated things for individuals as well as for larger groups like in daycare centers and things of that nature. And we service a lot of people that way, but we felt like if we had a bookmobile, we could do so much more because kids in daycares could actually have a real library experience by walking onto the bookmobile, engaging with the material there and making a selection, and then, you know, having a regular visit of that kind would make a big difference. And we'd be able to reach parts of the county that we currently don't service. So we would want to develop partnerships with like the Northeast Franklin Revitalization Group, as well as the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce in the operation in the lead up to the build of this bookmobile. We had received two legacies from different estates. Brenda Steinbach's estate left us $26,250, and Ms. Blair Tucker of Lewisburg's estate left us $10,000 to, you know, essentially build capacity and expand our access of library services throughout. Ms. Steinbach was a bookmobile patron, and she loved the service that we provided, that Ms. Williams provided. So that was made clear with her generous estate donation. So what I did was ask Library Services and Technology Act funding for $100,000. And with that money, we can, and an additional $40,000 that we would need for you to approve, we have approximately $135,000 on hand if we accept the grant, and we need $40,000 to complete the bill. And that would be, and I haven't shown you anything, but okay, here's the summary of our request. And I forgot to go through my slide presentation, but that's exactly what we would get into is a Sprint type vehicle, fully furnished. It was ACA, American with Disabilities Act certified, as well as you know, have the capacity to actually get a good library on board. So in addition to books and
Are you done?
just about, I'll go on and get through it because I know everybody's tired and ready to go home. we hope to be able to offer from that bookmobile mobile hotspots for checkout in underserved and unserved parts of the county as far as internet accessibility. So that's going to be a big help to people out in distant areas when the bookmobile's in town in their area. And what we had to do to design it was to find the best vehicular solution for our current and future operations. And we chose this Sprinter type vehicle simply because it we feel like it's something we can park it at each one of our locations, and we need to be able to move it around easily without having a huge old bookmobile. So we need a high load capacity vehicle configured to allow curbside accessibility. And it needs to have some operators in considerations as far as easy loading and lock solutions for our materials, and include patrons considerations for ADA and certified customer accessibility. So this is ADA compliant. This the type of vehicle we're looking at. And the financing I've pretty much discussed with you already. This gives you a rough idea of the slide now that you're looking at. It shows the current bookmobile. We've just had it refreshed. We had to name this project something less than 21 characters. So Franklin Voyager ended up being our name for the new bookmobile, the application structure. And so we decided we'd use a space age theme for that. And you can get an idea of what the new bookmobile would look like. It'll drop the curve level for people to get on and off. It's a dually, four rear wheels, so a dually. And it's quite an amazing vehicle. So that's what I'm here to ask you for tonight. It's $40,000, so I can build you a great vehicle.
All right. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Yes.
So do we have staff currently available that has the time to be able to take this Franklin Voyager to various locations to man it and also be there to be a service provider to the citizens as they come to utilize this resource?
Yes, we do. Ms. Vicki Williams is the staff member who would operate the bookmobile.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Okay.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
By Mr. Bunn, second by Madam Vice Chair. Are there any other questions? No other question. We'll have a roll call vote. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Foy? Mr. Foy? Mr. Foy?
Yeah. They keep on muting me for some reason. But anyway.
Mr. Bunn?
Yes.
Mr. Speed? Mr. Speed? Mr. Speed?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted too.
All right. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Shriver?
Yes.
Yes, it's have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you very much, Holt.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Good evening, everyone.
And good evening to you. All right. All right. All right. Item number, I'm sorry.
9.
9. Okay, item 9 is other business. All right. In our closed session, we have a presentation that we want to make in reference to water situation in the county. And I'm going to ask the Assistant County Manager, Ms. Kim Denton, if she would please first give us a brief summary about the emergency water purchase agreement with the city of Raleigh. And then we will entertain a motion to accept that, to reject it. And then Mrs. Denton will give us another report on the billing service agreement with the city of Raleigh.
Thank you, Chairman Dunstan. And thank you, commissioners, for the chance to talk about this important topic tonight. Water is an important topic for Franklin County. We have been moving forward and working on this topic for quite a while and working quite diligently on it. And so it is exciting news to talk tonight about an emergency water supply agreement with the city of Raleigh. And so summary of the request, it became evident during the water supply study. And remember back in November of 2019, the board, this Board of Commissioners approved an agreement for us to enter into a water supply study. And so in the process of working through the water supply study, it became evident that the county would need an additional 200,000 gallons per day in the event of simultaneous peak demand. Of course, the likelihood of that happening is slim, but the county has to be prepared in case that were to be a possibility. And so staff, legal and the consultants, the water team, have all been working together, and they come to you tonight to recommend entry into an agreement with the city of Raleigh to construct a metered interconnection in order for the county to purchase on an emergency basis up to 200,000 GPD of water. Just a few highlights for this agreement. We cannot purchase water for more than a total of 45 cumulative days. Water will only flow through the meter when a peak demand situation occurs. Of course, the county is seeking a site to install water quality equipment, disinfection, and the pump. The county will continue to work on its master water supply study and look for short-term and long-term water sources to meet its present and future customer demand. So therefore, after this summary, it's the water team's recommendation to approve this emergency water purchase agreement with the city of Raleigh and authorize the county manager to finalize and sign the agreement.
All right, you've heard that summary. What is your pleasure?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Schreiber has moved to approve. May we get a second? Did we get a second?
I second.
Mr. Jones?
Second. I'm sorry. I was muted. Second.
Second. Are there any other questions? No other questions. We'll do a roll call vote. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Foy?
Yes.
Mr. Bunn?
Yes.
Mr. Speed?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Schreiber?
Yes.
Yeses have it, and it is so ordered. We will now listen to Ms. Denton as she presents us a summary for a bill and services agreement with the city of Raleigh.
Thank you again, Commissioner Dunstan and commissioners. This agreement is in conjunction with the emergency water supply. In the process of working with the city of Raleigh, we have also discussed and formulated a billing services agreement. The summary of that request is the Richland Hills subdivision is in the corporate limits of Wake Forest and basically lies along the county line. The subdivision consists of approximately 420 customer accounts. The Franklin County Public Utilities provides water to the subdivision, and the city of Raleigh provides the sewer service. So currently the customers in Richland Hills receive 2 utility bills, one from the Franklin County Public Utilities for their water use and another from the city of Raleigh for their sewer. And so the city of Raleigh expressed an interest in having Franklin County Public Utilities Department bill for the sewer service, obviously in conjunction with the water bill that is already being distributed by Franklin County Public Utilities. And so as part of that process, Franklin County Public Utilities reads all of the water meters every month and sends the readings to the city of Raleigh. So again, staff, legal, and the consultants, the water team, discussed with the city of Raleigh and agreed to reach an agreement where Franklin County Public Utilities will bill the Richland Hills customers for the city of Raleigh sewer charges. And the proposed starting date for this agreement will be September 1st of 2020. So again, it's the water team's recommendation to approve this billing services agreement with the city of Raleigh and authorize the county manager to finalize and sign the agreement.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Shriver,
Second.
move to approve. Mr. Bunn has second. Are there any other questions? No other questions. We will entertain a roll call vote. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Foy,
Yes.
Mr. Bunn,
Yes.
Mr. Speed,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver.
Yes.
Yeses have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you very much, Ms. Denton, for that report, and thank you, commissioners, for making that approval. Item number, is there any other business? Other business, we'll move to item number 11, is board manager and clerk comments. Madam Clerk? No.
Mr. Chairman, the
Yes.
only comment that I would make tonight is just to remind the commissioners that we have the conference, the NCACC conference coming up this year. It's going to be completely virtual and it's also going to be free. So a good opportunity for our board to participate this year. We appreciate you volunteering to vote on the board's behalf. But if I can register anybody for that free conference, please just let me know and I'll go ahead and take care of that this week.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Madam Vice Chair,
No comments.
Mr. Foy,
No comment.
Mr. Bunn,
No comment.
Mr. Speed,
No comment.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, I have one comment.
Mhm.
The downtown Franklin, they were celebrating their opening for brokers and businessmen on July the 22nd. The town is having an opportunity for development of restaurants, coffee shops, businesses, and apartments. So it's a closed private meeting for investors and those who are interested in creating businesses downtown. But you're all invited to come July 22nd at 9 a.m.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Shriver,
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
thank you so much. Madam Vice Manager,
No comments this evening. Just appreciate everyone's patience through all that we've been able to accomplish this evening.
thank you so much. I think it's been a great meeting today. I think we've made a lot of accomplishments, and I want to thank you. And I want to admonish you that as we prepare to entertain a motion to adjourn, that you will keep in mind the conditions that we're living under, COVID-19, and that you will consider wearing a mask, watching your distances, and washing your hands. We will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Who made that motion?
Mr. Speed.
Mr. Speed, second by Mr. Shriver.
Indeed.
Are there any questions? If there are no questions, we will, any objections? We get any ayes? Are there any nays from adjourning? No nays? Then ayes have it and it's so ordered. Have a good night.
Good night.
Take care, everyone.
So, bye-bye.